Go.
Welcome. I'm Jamie Schessler, and I'm speaking on the affirmative for gender segregated schooling. Schools and classrooms should be segregated by sex. They have proved in the past to be academically superior. Although the majority of these are private or religion-based schools, public schools should offer same courses to either sex in separated classes or full institutions to reach the full potential and the main focus of their teachers and their pupils. Segregated classes would require full male or female courses in separation, but offer the same for equality. Students in co-gender classes face sexual harassment, anxiety, unhealthy gender competition, and struggles for positive physical appearance through either for the females through the males or vice versa. Separation would minimize these issues and maximize the education to reach the full potential of their students in their scholastics. Hostile learning environments are especially bad for females. They feel inferior to the males, whether it be in math, sciences, or technologies. They have been proven in each of those courses to be far less successful. They are also forced to create themselves according to the male mind and not on their self-intuition. This is Principal Tricia Keller. It has been in education for over 20 years at the Perth School for Girls, and she says that with girls being able to come to school and be themselves, they don't need to focus on the male pressure, especially in the high school setting. The president of Boston University declared in 2002 that his university would be looking to especially view male applications in depth to ensure that they were upstanding men, but they would also want to accept more women into their university because they lack.
Bye, Jamie. Bye, Alma.
Bye, Joey. They lack the higher women numbers. It's typically a 70% to 30% ratio, which in a university is just not high enough. So, an ideal learning environment would promote education to be gender inclusive. This would require targeting specialties of both sexes, and it would be less distracting for either one. This would include a more verbal and memory-based curriculum for girls, while it would require more hands-on and mathematics or science-based for boys. I now stand for questioning.
Thank you, Jamie. Will teachers have to go back to school and invest their time again to relearn how to teach a class of where they learned how to teach a co-ed class to begin with?
Teachers now have to go back to training, whether it be every other month or annually. They have to go back through training. It would not be requiring to go back to learn a whole new spectrum. Like, it would not be require an English teacher going back to learn math. It would just require an English teacher going back to focus on how he or she could include their boys into, more creative writing or technology-based, something that they're more interested in, so they're more positive about this. And same with the girls. It would require the teachers of science or math, which typically females lack in. It would require them to go back and have them learn memory-based, that women are typically more superior in.
Boys and girls act different depending on who they are around. Do you believe that teachers would have to try to accommodate the children differently in the same-sex schooling?
Teachers need to try to make their students feel comfortable, whatever the situation may be. When students feel more comfortable, they perform better in the classroom. This is not true in whether it just be male or female. So, yes, at first it would be a change for them to switch into, all female classes or all male classes. But if you bring these students up, for us switching in the middle of a school year, that would be difficult. But for them, knowing that's all that they know, then that would be okay. You have to look ahead into the future. Everything is always advancing. So soon students would think it was just their first nature.
Same-sex schooling is the separation of genders, but they used to separate blacks and whites as well. In today's world, we've refrained from segregation, but isn't same-sex schooling relatively the same?
Focusing in on a race, I think, is different than focusing male and female. Whether your skin is white or whether your skin is black, you know, you're still a person. You don't focus on the different chemicals in you. You still have the same. You're both a human being. Now, if it's a male and a female, your chemical balances are a little different. So, this requires different parts of the brain, you know, a more emotional side for a woman than a male, and him just being factual based. So I think rather than going back in time, it's actually advancing us into focusing in on specialties of students and taking them into the 21st century technology.
Now, with same-sex schooling, males would be at one school and females would be at another. Now, what about the transgender or unisex people? Does that mean that they're going to have to change schools?
This is a difficult question to answer, whether it be politicals and gay rights or whether it be schooling. Typically, when a transgender child is born, they have more of one chemical. Yes, they have a more prominent of both than, say, you would, of testosterone. But they typically, by the time they're high school, middle school, high school ages, at the time that most same-sex schools have separated, then they typically take one side or the other. It's not, so while this could be a complication, you know, we have to look forward for the majority. We have to look forward for the majority of our students and advancing them into what they need. And yes, I mean, they would have the option whether it be a boys or girls school, but.
So, you do think that if a male or female is born and they decide that they want to have maybe the surgery and they want to be the opposite of what they are, would they have to transfer schools?
Again, this is a very hard moral question, and it stands within that has to be a personal choice for them. Do they want to undergo this? Do they want to undergo the pressures or the bullying? Now, the switch is obviously not going to be an automatic, and it's not going to be an across the country. But you have to look forward. Like I said, most by the time they were in their adolescent ages, they would have had it. They try. What I believe is that they try to, you know, take a side as they're younger, so they can develop into the young man or woman they want to be.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Autumn Deal, and I'll be representing the negative side of this debate, where I will be expressing the true insight on same-sex schooling. Some believe that it is beneficial, while others believe that it is not. Even though it's been around for ages, the long-term effects of the child that undergoes same-sex schooling can be life-altering. Recent surveys have shown that same-sex schooling has had damaging effects. They've had a harder time adjusting to the world where they were working alongside the opposite sex. Same-sex schooling should be avoided because of the long-term effects that it can cause and the fact that they could attain same or higher knowledge in a public co-ed school. For the clarification of today's round, I offer the following. Same-sex schooling is a school where all males are attendable in school with male teachers and females attend another school with female teachers. Co-ed is the combination of the mixture of genders in a facility with male and female teachers, not differentiating between the two genders. I intend to prove that same-sex schooling has a negative impact on students because of social, educational, and historical effect it has. The social need is to be exposed to the opposite sex because it prepares them for the future that they have to overcome. Once they leave high school and they go to college, most likely they're going to be in a college where they're going to be with the opposite sex. And once